Well, hello, and welcome to Success Secrets and Stories. I'm your host, John Wandolowski, and today we're going to talk about our special Authors to Authors series. And this is where we get a chance to discuss authors and their motivations and their approaches to their work and talk about subjects that are near and dear to their hearts. I am here today to introduce Suzanne Elizabeth Murphy. And
Hello, John.
hi, thank you for coming and having the opportunity to speak to you about your book. It's a wonderful book. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about uh, this book is art and also a story, and maybe you can give a little background because I think the title is something that really sets up what you did as an author.
Yeah, someone just recently asked me, well, you had a Sea Green Bathtub when you were little, didn't you? No, I did not. But everyone should have one. I thought of this story when I was a scuba diver 40 years ago. And I never painted the pictures in my head. And the story sat as a manuscript on my shelf. And I did many other things like build a straw bale house and live in it, live in NYC, work for auto premature.
Oh wow!
I did so many other things. And then I moved to Florida with my husband, and I opened and founded a studio and gallery in Tarpon Springs, Florida, on the Gulf Coast. And my work changed because the colors changed. There was water everywhere. I'm a Pisces, which means fish. And I let that manuscript sit on the shelf, but I never buried it in a box.
Yeah.
And one day, about 3.5 years ago, I kept hearing what I was hearing when I was a scuba diver. Jacques Cousteau was saying, the corals are dying. The fish are dying. And here we are 40 years later, and they are really dying now all over the world.
Yeah.
And I said, Suzanne, you have to get that manuscript off the shelf, finish it, and paint the pictures in your head. And
Yeah.
that's how the book started. I had to give up my exhibition work. Percy will tell you, my studio partner, every day I was there composing the images to make a story.
And it's a beautiful composition of
Oh, thank
beautiful
you.
art.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Mirabelle and the Sea Green Bathtub. What was your main character? How did that name come about? Was there a story to that?
I think there was a magazine called Mirabelle. She's just Mirabelle.
Oh, sorry,
And
Mirabelle.
it caught my fancy. I don't know if that magazine is still published, but I love the name Mirabelle. And it had a kind of a music to it. And it wasn't Claire or Joan or Suzanne, or it was just Mirabelle all by herself. And so I decided it would be Mirabelle in the Sea Green Bathtub. And then before I published the book, I realized that title did not make things clear, even though the painting on the front is of the coral reef. So I said, Mirabelle and the Sea Green Bathtub, journey to the coral reef. And the whole book is her journey down through the bottomless sea green bathtub into this world she has not even imagined. She always wanted to swim with the fishes, but she couldn't have imagined what she was seeing and feeling. And that's what I remember when I was a scuba diver. The calm that I felt, the mystery and the beauty. And I wanted that not only in the pictures that I painted, but in the words. My mother was a poet. And I wanted the words to be like poetry, but not poetry.
Sure.
There's not one single rhyme in my book, but they had to be beautiful words, not big words, but words that truly described whatever she was seeing and feeling.
And you've done a lot of art. You're an accomplished artist. You've done art when you were on the East Coast. You're now doing art now here in Florida.
Mhm.
And what I found interesting is from that perspective of being a diver and really the marine life that you're exposed to, because you can't see that when people think about the oceans and fish, unfortunately, it's what they're eating, not what you can swim with.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
the beauty of the fish in the water is, I think, amazing. I think you captured that. Your art is outstanding. The words
Thank you.
complement your art. So I did notice that. Did
Thank you.
Mirabelle always have that name in the box? Was that always her name?
Oh, it was always Mirabelle. As a matter of fact, she started as a one-page story when I
Huh?
took a course at the New School in New York City, a course in writing for children. As a matter of fact, it was when I was a scuba diver. Uh, and so that was one of my projects. And the instructor, can't remember her name now, said, "Oh, that could be a book." Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Boom. Yeah, especially how teachers can influence. And you've taught, I believe, in part of your career.
I have taught painting for 10 years. Yes. Hmm.
So that moment when you're teaching and you actually have a chance to touch somebody for it sparks that idea. You may not think that you're influencing them, but you are. And it's amazing how that
Hmm.
seed grows when you see some of your
Hmm.
students after the program, and they'll tell you how much they influenced. I'm sure the teacher that gave you that spark appreciates that moment in time.
She did, and she appreciated other things. We had to write a letter to ourselves as a child, and I wrote a letter, and she said, "You never know where inspiration will come from. I have to write a letter for some magazine, and I'm going to use your idea, Suzanne."
Well, at least she told
I said,
you.
"That's fine." She just liked the approach that I had taken to my child. It was a building up, everything will be all right. Don't be afraid. I'll hold your hand all the way. And yeah, it touched her. So I was glad. Anyway, I learned a lot in that class, but then I didn't write. I found a writers group in New York. Everybody was published but me.
Okay.
Um, and I could tell you something silly. I can't believe I did it now, but I was on the subway. My book was on the shelf, and I was on the subway in Manhattan, and it stopped. And you know how they have posters all along the wall, and I saw a poster of the Little Mermaid, and I thought, "Oh no, oh no, the editors will think I'm just writing a story about a little mermaid. I can't do it now."
Yeah.
And
Timing's wrong.
honestly, that kept me from doing anything with Mirabelle for years. I just can't believe that I gave up so easily, but that's sometimes what we do. I would never do that now, but I was younger, much younger. And
Yeah.
yeah.
As we get older, we start to realize this is something I'm doing with the podcast that I always thought was fun. And I've had so much fun talking to people like yourself and sharing the things that we've learned over time and seeing if we can't help people listen
Hmm.
to some of the things we're trying to help them with. I wrote a book on leadership, but you're talking about people to take ownership and accountability and responsibility, which is the majority of what I was talking about in my book, for the
Hmm.
oceans that are around us, and talking about how the bleaching of the coral is a sign that the coral isn't going to survive. Um,
Yes.
and I think this book is trying to give a child's view of what that really means. What I found interesting is your approach of with the characters within the book and how they had an exchange. Um, Maybe we can talk about that a little bit.
Well, each character is different. Um, I'm having to, I had, in narrating my audiobook, which isn't finished yet, I had to address that. Each one has their own personality, but they also had something to add to the story. gradually, as she went deeper through this world along the coral wall, there were warnings, there were encouragements, there were, why are you here? There were puzzlements, from the
Sure.
angelfish. And that was how but I wanted them to be real. I didn't want a cartoon book. I didn't want silliness. It was all, and the music that I chose to accompany the audiobook is serious. It's Saint-Saëns Aquarium from Carnival of the Animals. And it's not the childlike music that you would think for the book, but it gave a diver friend of mine goosebumps when she saw the little video that they've made for me with that music.
How wonderful.
So Mirabelle grows. There has to be growth in a book or it's not worth anything. I wanted her to need courage. I wanted her always to be curious and to have a sense of wonder, and then to be able to take action for herself, not to go to a grown-up to say, what shall we do? And that's what she does at the end. But I didn't want to put too much responsibility on children either. I do give them some tips in the back, with the glossary, to teach them about the little creatures on the coral reef. And then I give some suggestions about what Mirabelle has learned will help the corals. And so just little things that they can do, because really I wanted the book to empower children.
And I think you did I'm sorry.
Empower parents who are reading this book to a 4-year-old who can't read it for herself yet, to empower them to talk to their child about corals and that they need help just like the rest of us do.
Right. And you did one technique that I did in my book. You gave references at the end of other sources that people could see that supports the message that you're trying to share.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those connections, trying to help them understand that there's more to this story than what you're presenting, and you can find more of the detail as an adult, whether they take it upon themselves or they want to try to help the child understand a little bit more about the story.
Yeah.
you have put those references in at the same time.
At the end of the story, before the glossary and all the advice I give, I say the end, but possibly only the beginning. And that's what I want it to be. I don't want it to be the end of a story. I want it to be the beginning of more curiosity and adventures. And I had a teacher say to me, this book should be in every library, and it will we could end up with more ichthyologists and oceanographers and than we would ever need, because it could spark a career. I mean, you can go to the Tampa Museum and see a coral nursery. I told my audiobook publishing company, I said, if I were going to do another book, I would call it The Coral Gardeners. If I were 40 years younger, I would be a coral gardener.
Sure.
Planting fresh, new, healthy corals on the coral reefs all over the world. And thank heavens somebody is doing it.
Yeah. So do you still dive? Is that still part of your
I do
life?
not. I've had, no.
Okay.
I heard a sad story from an acquaintance of mine who used to dive in the Keys. And he said 20 years ago, the corals were beautiful. We went back 2 years ago, and there was nothing there.
Oh,
So you have to go farther than the Keys to find. I think the Philippines still has beautiful corals. The Great Barrier Reef is being affected.
yeah.
But yes, I have had quite an art career. I have a quote here that I just wanted to read. That I don't know if you ever heard of the poet M.C. Richards, but he said, all the arts we practice are apprenticeships. The big art is our life. And my life is what has caused me or been the reason why I have painted what I've painted. It's what was around me. It's what, when I moved to the San Luis Valley in Colorado and full of sagebrush and sky everywhere and valleys and extinct volcanoes, that's what I wanted to paint. I did so many landscapes and Southwest still lifes. Well, when I came here, I wanted to paint water and people.
Right.
People in the water. I did a lot of portrait commissions and but whatever I was involved with, that's what I wanted to paint. And so galleries have a difficult time with me because I don't have a formula. When I was ready to paint, I think you can't see it now, but I have my big 4x4 foot prayer angel right here. I had breast cancer a long time ago. I'm fine.
I'm
And
glad you're doing better.
he's trying to show it to you.
Yeah, he is.
But anyway, it's okay. It's okay. That had its purpose. And many people have related to it. So, you know, what you want, what every artist wants is for people to find at least one painting that they take to their heart, that affects them and influences them and makes them think about their life. And that's what I've tried to do. Mirabelle is an isolated instance for me. I may never do another book, I don't know, but I had to do this one.
Sure. No. And a little bit about your art currently. I think it's surrealism and what's the newest categories that you're working with in your art format? The surrealism,
No, I'm
realism.
more impressionist, and it's a combination of impressionist, realist.
Okay.
I kind of come somewhere in the middle.
I
Yeah,
saw one of the paintings, the boats on the dock, which
oh yes.
a beautiful picture. You can almost hear the boats kind of touching each other with the
Yes,
waves. I mean,
I thought they looked like little people, all gathered
what?
together to
Sure.
have a little morning conversation.
No, some beautiful art, and that's the other advantage. Maybe you can talk a little about your studio and where your studio can be found.
Well, for 17 years, I was in a 1,000 square foot studio and gallery, and right in the heart of Tarpon Springs. And I taught there as well as teaching at the recreation center for the city. I taught there 10 years. We did several exhibits there. At first it was just me until 2018, and then my studio partner Percy joined me. And by the time we moved out in May of this year, there were paintings lined up against the wall. We had this big table in the middle, beautiful table, where we had our computers and we would do our thinking there, our planning, our computer work. But we didn't have enough people coming in anymore. It was kind of on the edge of someplace. And so we decided we would find an office, which we have, this wonderful fluid space. They asked us to hang our big work in all the common spaces. We have 27 paintings hanging here.
Wow.
And then we found a place called the Marketplace, and we have 2 rooms, which we have made into a gallery.
Nice.
And we are doing very well. And people come and they look, and we have note cards, we have pillows with our artwork on them, we have prints and originals, and someone bought a set of coasters, stone coasters from us the other day.
It's how
So
sharp. Yeah.
it's a very rich kind of environment. And when we have the studio gallery, people love to come in, and we would offer a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and they would take us up on it, and they would stay for half an hour, 45
Sure.
minutes. Because you know what? It's very important when you buy art to know the artist.
Yes.
It really is. People don't know that until they have the experience or the opportunity to talk to an artist. And usually we're more interested in them at first,
Sure.
but then they have questions. And sometimes I think people are fearful of going into a gallery. They don't know what will be expected of them, and it's not a usual thing. So our challenge was to make everyone comfortable and walk around with them and talk about whatever they were interested in. Anyway, we did that there for 17 years. Now we have an office where we think and work and write. And my studio partner is also a poet.
Awesome.
And then we have our gallery at the Marketplace. So
And I think the most important part for me is your art in this book is fantastic. And the history of you learning the different elements of art, whether it be costume design or backgrounds or clothing. But this art that you're working on now, especially in this children's book, is such an engaging sense of how a child would see a coral reef and a wonderful vision that you've given to it.
thank
It's a
you.
fantastic piece of work.
But
And
everything I learned in costume design, I learned about body language and what it says. I learned about lighting, and everything I learned I used in this book. And if I hadn't been a fine art painter, I would have done it as an illustrator on paper. But John, I have 21 24 by 30 paintings,
they're beautiful. They
all
are
representing the
beautiful.
paintings in this book. And they
Yes.
are now at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center in Dunedin, Florida.
How
They're being
wonderful.
exhibited there, yes. And and they're selling the prints that I had made and my note cards. And on October 16, I will be privileged enough to be talking about the making of my book and reading the story, and then doing a little coral conservation talk afterwards.
That is so awesome. That is outstanding. You have to
It
feel some sense of real satisfaction going through this and bringing Mirabelle out of the box.
Well, always as an artist, what you want to do is share.
Yeah.
But there is a second side to this because it's important information. It's something that you hope will set someone on a path of that curiosity and learning more, wanting to learn more. If I have a 52-page book, I could have made it a 75-page book, but it would have been too expensive to publish.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I say I won't do another book, but you never know.
It could be there. I mean, as far
Right?
as the work that you've done, if there's still something left that you want to say, you have the ability to tell a wonderful message. And it is a beautiful book.
Thank you,
I
John.
would highly recommend the book.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. I've had grown men just buy it for themselves
Sure.
with no children. Isn't that amazing?
Well, what's interesting is one of your influences was one of my influences, Jacques
Jacques
Cousteau.
Cousteau. Oh, yes.
And and how he changed how people see the oceans and that urge to try to do something to be productive, to be helpful. I mean, we were listening to those, what, 70s, 80s, 90s?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you can almost pick up one of his programs, put it in, and it's still happening.
Take the
We're
date off
still not listening.
and just,
So, yeah, we have to continue the message, and it's a
yeah,
message that I think you've done a very well, a very good
thank
job
you.
trying to
Thank you.
influence people to
Thank
listen.
you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yes, I did. So, if they want to get a hold of you in terms of
Mhm.
things that are the websites or how to buy the book, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have a new website. You can't buy anything on it yet, but it's just seagreenbathtub.com. That's easy. And
Okay.
there's a little arrow they can click to watch the little animated video. And then in a couple of weeks, the audiobook will be on there. My hardcover book will be on there. If they want to write to me, they can write to me at Mirabelle at seagreenbathtub.com, and I'll get that email.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
awesome.
And I would love to hear from anyone who is listening to this.
Sure.
I'm so pleased that you are the person that I hoped you would be. Warm,
Oh, well,
friendly,
thank you.
patient,
Well,
good
thank you.
questions, a good listener, as well as someone who is curious about other people.
This has
You
been
must
a
be to do a
joy.
podcast. Yeah.
This is a joy, and really meeting people like yourself. It's the reason why I wanted to do it. I have so much fun doing this.
I can tell. I can tell. Even when you're not smiling, you're smiling. If that makes any sense.
It does. It does. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of one of my favorite stories, author to author. I hope you enjoyed us literally diving into the creative process of writing this book. And I hope someday that your efforts will also be where you can tell your story. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep sharing your stories.